Hello, interwebs, and welcome to Closeup. I'm your host, Joe.
And I'm Justin.
Justin explains Neon Genesis to me and to you as the next part of this installment of Anime October. So, what the heck is Neon Genesis? It's some old anime, right?
Well, you're technically right.
First
yes.
question. Let's just get right into our close-up. Yeah.
All right,
first
let's
question.
do it. Let's do it. Okay.
What's a Neon Genesis?
It is a very important anime in the history of anime.
Okay.
Some people regard it as one of the best, and some people are like, meh, it's not very good.
That's literally any fandom.
It's pretty split.
Okay, so it's not like overwhelmingly praised and hated by a minority?
Well, it's considered to be either the best or people are like, it's not good. So it's a kind of a toss-up.
Mileage very much varies then.
Yes, yeah.
Depending on...
It's either you're going to like it or you're not. That's it. It's simple as that.
Good to start if you're trying to convince somebody to watch it.
Yeah.
How early on should you decide whether you're not going to give it a further chance? Is this something you know right away? Oh, episode 1, I'm out. I can tell immediately this ain't for me. Or do you have to give it a few usually?
Actually, this one does pretty good in the first episode.
Strong pilot.
Maybe even like if you get like 3 in and you're like, no, this isn't for me. That's probably fair. I mean, you're not getting to the good stuff quite yet.
Whenabouts does the quote-unquote good stuff start for the people who are a little more on the fence and want to say, I'll hold out a little more than 3 episodes before the good stuff happens?
Well, the significant shift is about halfway through. I think it's 24 episodes, so it's like at the 12 episode mark is where things really kind of shifted where they were going with things.
And does that include some big turning point? Does the status quo change there, or is it more
Not
of a
really? It's more
slow build?
thematic.
Okay.
So I'll get into explaining what it is. So Neon Genesis Evangelion is it's a show about robot mechs.
Okay. Japanese Transformers, but like they're not.
I think aren't Transformers Japanese anyways?
Are they? I thought they were American.
I don't know. Oh, it's a Japanese designed toy, but an American designed brand.
Got it.
Yeah, if I remember correctly. Anyways, it's mechs, but it's also a commentary on those type of shows at the same time.
So those were already prevalent in the anime sphere by the time this was made?
Yes, there were some. This did contribute to it becoming even larger, but this one specifically was sort of a commentary on some of the older ones. It's the thing with this show is that it's very heavy with its messaging. The themes that the director was trying to portray with this story is kind of the point of the show. And if you're not gelling with that idea of actually looking for deeper themes, it's probably not going to be for you.
So it's not enough action to keep your layperson viewer interested?
Well, that's the interesting thing, is for a show that's about giant mech robots, there's not a heck of a lot to do with the giant mech robots. There are full-blown episodes where they don't even activate. You know, like even the first episode is like, okay, here's your giant mech robot gonna fight an angel from space, and it's, you get like, I don't know, maybe like 6 seconds
of a battle,
and that's it. That's it. The battle's like less. Okay, it's probably not that short. It's less than a minute in the first episode, And it's pretty consistent with that. The battles are not really the point.
So this is not, as you explained to me for Demon Slayer, a show where the battles are going on multiple episodes at a time.
I don't think so. No, not particularly. Maybe something carries over.
They find one of these angels and it's a 3-episode battle.
No, there's definitely not any of those.
So what is Space Angel supposed to be?
The angels are...
Spoilers?
Yeah, let me
hard
think.
To explain.
It's hard to explain. This show is famously known as very confusing.
Okay.
But in a good way?
Just some people, I guess.
Yes.
Not to the people, yeah.
I'm trying to pitch it in a way that's not spoilery, because there is a lot of information to gather from it. Essentially, the setup for the show is, in this world, there's a history of these angels coming down, and a human makes contact with one, which makes it explode and nearly wipes out all life on the planet.
Okay.
So it's set in the aftermath of the second impact, I believe it's called. So the first impact is supposed to be like the creation of life. And the second impact is where they're like, oh, we almost all died. So that's when they're like, we're going to get some plans to, prevent this from happening again. So that's where you get the show.
Okay, and who are we following?
So we follow Shinji Ikari, who is a 14-year-old boy, and he is about as annoying as a 14-year-old boy, but he's very reclusive. And that's kind of the point, is that he's a depressed 14-year-old boy being forced into situations that probably he shouldn't be in, but he has to anyways.
And why does he have to?
Because basically he's determined as one of the only ones who can. It's rare to find somebody who's, one, able to pilot these robots, and two, actually good at it. He is actually pretty proficient with it. The robots and the pilots have like sync rates, so they have to be synced up a certain amount to the robot. So it's very dependent on that. The point with Shinji is that he is more real. I think all of the characters in the show are made to feel like they are real.
It's not a heightened experience in a heightened world, even.
Well, the world has some fantastical elements. Obviously, there's giant robots, and there's
Space
aliens from
angels.
space, and there's apocalypse stuff. But the characters are grounded in reality. So one of the core things with Shinji is that he's a quitter.
Okay.
He just does whatever he's told. And he doesn't interact with people very well. And so that's one of the major struggles in the show is that he doesn't actually want to pilot these giant robots because he finds it traumatic. It's kind of like a PTSD thing, which is sort of hard to get as an audience member because you're watching a fantastical world with these characters. What? He wants to fight. Who doesn't want to run a giant robot and fight an angel? Well, if you think about it in reality, that's actually kind of terrifying. And that's kind of the way that the characters interpret the world. So despite it's dated, obviously. The animation is old.
What era are we talking about again?
This was 95, I believe it was.
Okay.
So it's still all hand drawn, or as far as I know. But that means that the detail isn't very high. So it's hard to make it come across as more serious than like as the point is. So the storytelling is what does that mostly.
I see. So in this world where, and like you said, it's because we don't expect him to be kind of a quitter and a coward. In a lot of these things, we're following the biggest badasses possible in the most epic quests. So to see somebody like this as a traumatized quitter, there's kind of a disconnect there with the audience where you're like, this isn't usually how this goes trope-wise.
Yeah, so it's not as satisfying feeling.
Yes. So if he is characterized as a quitter who is there reluctantly, what is his main motivation? What does he want?
Well, that's a big question, actually, because people ask him that frequently. Why, and it's like, why? Well, he doesn't understand why anybody else would want to pilot the robot. So he's constantly asking people, he's like, well, why do you do it? And he doesn't understand the reason why he keeps coming back, why he doesn't quit. Why, like he wants to quit because he feels like he's failing all the time. Mm-hmm. Because every little thing kind of gets to him. He's very sensitive and he doesn't want to do it in the first place. But he's trying to understand other people, which is another core theme to the show, is that people don't understand each other. We have walls between each other. And he particularly has a hard time with that.
Okay, so is there anything thematically in there about, despite it being hard to connect with people, there's some kind of compatibility rating for the robots? Like, oh, if only people were that easy to judge compatibility and be this synced up unit? Or is that more incidental?
That doesn't, as far as I can tell, I don't think there's anything that thematically that ties those two pieces together.
Okay. So,
yeah.
Dumb question. It's a two-part dumb question.
Okay.
First question, is the color palette neon heavy?
No, not really. Actually, no, not really.
Okay, so I don't know why it's called neon. First of all, do you have an answer for that? What's the neon part?
I am not gonna answer that because it's a major spoiler.
Okay. And is the second part also a major spoiler about what the Genesis is?
Yes, that's also a major spoiler.
Okay.
That took 30 years to get out.
So was it unsatisfying to have gotten through the original series without an explanation to what the titular Neon Genesis is?
Not particularly. I think the part that a lot of people have is that the ending is fairly unsatisfying, and it's the most complicated part of the anime. Basically, the behind the scenes is that they ran out of money to finish the show correctly, and the last 2 episodes can be very, very difficult to understand, which is understandable because it is a bit of a mess and some of the highest concept stuff that happens in the whole series, which became so popular that they're like, hey, we're gonna do this again with a movie finale. And everybody's like, yes, this will be awesome. We'll finally actually understand the ending. And then they basically did it again. And it was even more confusing. Well, I wouldn't say it's more confusing, but it's just as confusing. So you really have to want to understand it to get a lot out of it. But what I found was I did spend the time to try and understand what was actually going on, because there's a lot of high concept stuff that goes on in the end. That's what everything kind of builds to, is to those points.
Mm-hmm.
And when they ended up doing the rebuild movies, it kind of flushed some of those ideas out more.
So just for the audience, what are the rebuild movies?
They are the sequel movies that followed basically, I think it was like 10 years after the original anime. And it's sort of a follow-up, as in like the director's reaction to how Neon Genesis was taken when it originally came out. The reactions to it, because it became so popular and so, the ending being so divisive, even when they tried to redo it again and they're like, here's the ending again, just in case you didn't get it the first time. And so there's a lot of things with that
The author poured into the reboot or rebuild movies.
Yes, it got fleshed out more. The rebuild movies was sort of an attempt to make it more friendly towards new viewers. That's how it started. And then as it panned out over the years, I mean, the idea was supposed to be, it was going to be within all 4 movies would be within 8 years. And the last one just came out in 2021. So you can tell there was a lot of things changed over the course from the original idea.
So just to clarify, based on what you were talking to me about off air, these rebuild movies started off as a jumping on point for Neon Genesis fans, and then basically just became spiritual successors to the original show, which you need to have seen the original to enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, it's debatable whether or not their spiritual successor, it's a spiritual successor. It's kind of supposed to be a sequel, which will make sense eventually. But the rebuild movies do not actually make sense with the entire set of them. The first 2, yeah, you could go without having seen the original anime. The back 2, you need to have seen the original anime to actually understand what's going on, basically.
Strange way to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And I feel like that nearly shoots itself in the foot, doesn't it? Where it's 2 that are more friendly for newbies, and then 2 that require a very deep level of commitment to have gotten that far into it. So you're turning away the newbies that you were enticing to start, and you're probably also bothering the people in retrospect where you're like, I kind of expect, like, I have been following this and I had to watch through like 2 movies effectively of a reboot.
Well, that's the thing is because of the technology advances between 95 and 2003, I think it was, we got so many digital technologies in that short window that the quality is so much higher, and they had a way bigger budget to do what they wanted to do with it. So it's a superior take on it in a way. It's actually, having finished the anime for the first time, like
A couple weeks ago.
all in a little bit, and then watching the first 2 movies, which is sort of a reboot but not at the same time, I still found myself really enjoying them because there was more pumped into it. And getting into the second rebuild movie is where things start to change a little bit. And then we continue forward. So it was sort of pitched as an alternate take on the universe.
Mm-hmm. And then ended up as something different.
Yeah. it changed over time, basically. And I think that's due to, once again, it was done as a reaction to how fans responded to the original show. And the reactions to the movies coming out also influenced what happens going forward.
So in terms of the rebuild movies being reactive, how did people receive that? Was it, were they more positive to the rebuild movies, considering, well, okay, if I as a creator had some reactions, I'd incorporate those criticisms into my new work perhaps, and okay, so this is maybe what the fans wanted. Did they deliver? Were people satisfied?
Well, I think it was less of a what the fans wanted, and more so the creator going, why didn't they understand the message?
Okay.
Why didn't they get the message? Because it's all about escapism, basically, and people diving deep to understand the lore actually pushed escapism even further. So for the creator, he's like, that's the opposite of what I wanted. I wanted to tell a story about, be careful about escapism, but people drown themselves in information about this show.
They went way too deep on the lore and missed the irony that it's about the
they
dangers
missed
of
the
escapism.
point. So he did it differently. And
did people understand?
See, that's where things get complicated, because the second things started changing, the first movie was received very well. Mm-hmm. The second movie was split. Completely split, because people didn't like the changes.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't like it whatsoever. We briefly touched on this in a different episode that's coming out later after this, I think.
Yes, that'll be sometime mid-November probably.
Anyways, the fan base kind of their headcanon was like, well, this isn't Mind Me on Genesis, and this isn't how it goes, and they just kind of denied it, or you accepted it. So for me, coming with no bias going into it, I really, really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we will do a in defense of episode on it, because overall,
they're worth defending.
As the movies were coming out, they were losing people like crazy, but
there is value there.
There is so much value. I think that that's going to be my super hot take, is that I think the rebuilds are better than the original anime. Yeah, I know. I'm going to get flamed for that one for sure. Because there's a lot of people who are adamant that especially with the latter two movies, that they're terrible. And I think that they're absolutely fantastic. I'll tell you a secret. When I was rating this anime on my list of animes, I had it at 4th place. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. Was it gonna top out some of the ones that were higher up? Not quite. Then I think that was after the second rebuild movie that I kind of put it there.
Yep. And then you watched the last two.
I watched the last two, and it went straight to the top. Went straight to the top. I think that the director really pulled everything together and made an absolute masterpiece, which people argue over that all the time. They're like, oh, the original show was a masterpiece, and other people are like, it's overrated. But I honestly think that the entirety of it, the original show, the original movie, and the 4 rebuilds are a masterpiece. It really tells the director's vision over the course of we're spanning 20 almost 30 years, basically.
Before it was finished, yeah.
Before everything came to completion.
Now, this one sounds like a very complicated one to get into because my gut instinct is to say just watch it and ignore the fan base and all their opinions. But at the same time, you also said that it is a very lore-heavy show, which you'll probably need to do some research and do some deep dives to comprehend.
Yes.
So it's like, I really want to avoid the fan base, but also I might need to wait in it just to understand it.
Well, and I think that's part of the process now is the fact that the rebuild movies were in reaction to the fan base doing that. You kind of have to do that. So
you have to understand the discourse.
A little bit confusing, and you're like, I really need to understand the lore. And then you do your deep dive on the lore, and you're like, oh, I get it all now. Okay, I understand everything. Now I'm gonna watch the rebuild movies, and the fact that you dive into that sort of reaction that they had at the time when it came out, then you get the response to that. And I think this is one of the most interesting pieces of media I've seen do something like this.
It's metatextual. It's
having an understanding of the director's stance on everything and the background of just the fans itself, like that applies to your watching of the movies.
Knowing the discourse is important for understanding the themes of the story.
Yes.
In an ironic way.
It's weird that it's like, okay, you're taking real reactions to this fictional universe and and that sort of colors the movies.
Because if I'm understanding, so now that you're talking more about it, so he made these rebuild movies in response to his fandom's discourse. So to understand what he's really saying, you need to understand what he's responding to.
Yes, in a way.
It's a part of it. It's a part of the experience.
It is a part of the experience. And I think that, I felt the compulsion that I was like, I really need to, there's so many fascinating things about it that made me want to do a deep dive. And I was sitting there for several hours, just, Googling different questions and trying to understand what I just watched.
Mm-hmm.
And when I finally got it, I'm like, okay, I get it. And that knowledge is almost needed, or at some level. You don't have to fully understand it. You don't have to do a huge deep dive into it to get the same experience. But if you do a bit of a deep dive and you try to understand it, if you feel yourself trying to learn more, then you get a different reaction to the latter four movies, which I think is why the original fans didn't care for the new movies.
I also think it's a matter of, as you said, just the four movies took 20 years to come out.
Yeah.
And I think you're getting a fundamentally different experience watching the show and the four movies basically within the span of a couple of months, as opposed to the people who watched the show as it was coming out. Oh, I like that. Let's watch a movie 8 years later. Okay. A couple of years later, they started changing stuff, and I don't like that. Then they have to wait another 10 years and another 13 years after that. And it's just like by that point, you as a person have changed. Your viewpoints on the world and entertainment have changed. Your relationship to the story itself has changed. It's become baked in nostalgia. Changes feel more like a personal attack at that point. You're just watching it. So I can understand where some of the more vocal fan base are coming from if you grew up with it and you didn't like it as it evolved. But it's a different story to do what you did. You're getting an appreciation for the whole package.
Well, and I think it also helps that we discussed this before in Anime October, but this is a sign-in, so it is designed for men. This one I really think is particularly aimed at young men, not teenagers, but kind of that range that I'm in. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of about that transition between being a sort of immature young man and to more of a proper adult in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm very specifically the target audience. Now, not saying that somebody outside the target audience wouldn't get things out of it too. And I think that's the beauty of it, is that there are so many things you could take away from it, so many different interpretations and so many ways it can be seen, that it really is something for everyone if you can get behind it. Because the main character can be a little whiny and a little frustrating, but you have to kind of think about it in reality and think about that the PTSD effect, which it's not like a modern show where it's going to be in your face with the subtext. The subtext is subtext. It is there, but it's deep, and you have to pay attention to really get that. And I think that's where people get lost, is that it seems like it should be a fun robot fighting show, and it's not.
So if it's not about the action and the subtext is buried very deep, what is a typical installment about? What happened in your average episode?
It's usually Shinji or one of the other pilots has something going on that's affecting their... A lot of times it's some of the other pilots is it's your mental state is affecting your sync rate with the robot. And they're kind of on standby, and they need to be doing their training to be prepared for the next time one of these angels attacks. And over the course, actually, you know what? I'm not gonna say that.
Make sweeping generalizations.
About half of the episodes have a battle with an angel.
Okay.
But usually it's quick, because
that's not the point.
It's not the point, and the action needs to be decisive. I mean, they are fighting to save people. The longer this battle goes, the more destructive it's going to be, and the more dangerous it's going to be. So, and that's another thing, is the robots are all powered. They're either plugged in constantly, or if they're unplugged, they got like 5 minutes of time.
Okay.
Which doesn't play out over 5 minutes in an episode, because that's not how shows work.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's why all of their fights are very quick, because frequently they're running on battery power, and they got 5 minutes to clean this up. So the fight's got to be fast.
Okay. And so do they know what the angels are planning, or is there some consequence for not stopping the angels that they're confident about?
Well, essentially, you've got the adult characters who are all kind of traumatized from this second impact event that almost killed all life. Like, the oceans are red. It's weird.
All right.
It's not what you are used to. And that kind of hovers over all those characters, and the younger characters don't really, they weren't around at that time, so they don't really understand the same way. So
yeah.
So
what are some other themes of this show, if there's any you haven't touched on? We talked about empathy, we talked about some trauma, we've talked about just like the fandoms in general, and escapism.
Well, I am missing a pretty core theme. I didn't get into it very much. It's a little bit more spoilery, but not too bad. His mother is dead, and his father basically abandoned him. His father runs this project with the mechs and everything. Mm-hmm. So he's the one who kind of calls him in. But they don't communicate, like, at all. Like, there are very
he's just my boss. Yeah.
Scenes, like, there's a scene where he's waiting. Shinji's waiting for the elevator. The elevator comes up. It opens. His dad is in the elevator, and he's just like, they both just kind of, without any words, without anything. He doesn't get in the elevator. Doors closed. Gone.
I see.
Because they have this tense relationship, and so there is kind of the father-son, the lack of a relationship between two people who would traditionally should have a relationship. And that's kind of a back and forth, and that's a thing that plays out over the course of the entirety of the series.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm surprised I kind of forgot about that till now. But it is a core theme to the series, and it's another, like, Shinji's relationship to other people and the strain to have relationships with other people. Doesn't matter whether it's romantic, friendships, work relationships, a relationship with his father. His struggle with relating to people is a very core concept of his character.
In our personal conversations about this show, you mentioned that religious allegory is a pretty prominent factor in this series.
Yeah, it's there. But
not.
I think in the original series, it's not as big of a deal. I don't think it's hinting on too much or implying really anything. I think it's there to give it a kind of a theme, a feel for what's going on, because there are a lot of religious symbols. There are, and they're not subtle. Like something explodes and it's a cross made out of flame. Like, it's not, you've even got literal crosses with people on them. Like, it's not subtle. There's angels, there's, it's not subtle about it, but it uses it as in the show, it kind of uses it as more of a stylization that keeps everything tied through. It's like just like the theme of the style.
Is anything about these religious allegories tie into a mythological component of lore? Is it supposed to be like, I mean, unless it's a massive spoiler to say, is it some kind of basis for religion?
Some of it, I think, not really not basis for religion, but it does take things from religion to
explain it.
Well, because it goes so quick and it doesn't hold your hand, it doesn't explain things. Sometimes knowledge of, religious stories helps. Like there's
a shortcut.
Specific things that are named after other things that, yeah, it is a shortcut. This is a story that's been told before. It's known to most people. Especially in, when you go back to the 90s.
Slightly more religious than now.
More prevalent, than now. And I think it's when it comes to the rebuild movies is where they go really heavy with it. And it's not used as just a theme to tie everything together and give it a good feel, something interesting to look at. I think it has a bit of a point to it. But once again, you can take a lot of things from it.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I feel like it's probably touching on something that the creator had in mind. I'm not gonna go into it because it's pretty spoilery if I do, but
yeah, we'll probably get more into spoilers on your In Defense of the Rebuild whenever we end up doing that.
Yeah,
might put a bit of a stopgap in between some anime stuff after October.
You don't like Anime October?
Oh no, Anime October is great, but like no anime in November probably.
No anime November.
No anime November at the very least.
All right.
We might come back to anime in December. But so do you have any other thoughts or points about Neon Genesis?
Well, I did a lot of rambling and a lot of, this is why I was hesitant to call it an explains, because
You explained a lot about it without really getting into the lore, which
yeah, it's
like the rest
it's
is
so
just, yeah.
the thing is I don't want to spoil too much of it, because for me, I think it is an experience, especially it's more than just a show and a story. It is an experience that I think needs to be your first time. Yeah, you can go in with some knowledge and be like, hey, listen, if you're not into understanding the subtext or thinking about it, it's probably not for you, because that's not what it is. That's not the kind of show it is. But other than that, I don't know. You just got to push through and try to take it as it comes. But I think it is something that you need to experience for yourself.
Yeah, and based on what you've told me about the show today and then the last couple weeks, I probably will give it a shot try to keep an open mind at some point. Though I am wary of wading into another toxic fan base. We will see where that takes us. But what would you rank it?
I'm going to give it my highest ranking I've ever given anything. I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up. I've been saving this ranking in reserve for something that I think is very special and very unique. And I mean, I don't want to overhype it, because it's not perfect.
Okay, well, let's backtrack slightly and say, what would you just give the original series? For the people who don't want to give the more divisive rebuild movies a shot, what do we just call the original run?
Series and the follow-up movie to that, I would give a full-blown thumbs up. It's very, very good.
1 thumbs up for the original story, and for the complete package, you get a double thumb.
Double thumbs up. I am incredibly impressed by, especially the rebuild movies, how it all pulls everything together. It was absolutely incredible, but I don't want to overhype it.
Yeah,
because it is rough at times. You know, the third rebuild movie is so. And it's not like, you're not going to be sitting there and be like, oh wow, this is absolutely incredible the whole time.
It's a slow burn.
It is. It's a slow burn, and there's a lot of thinking involved in it. And some of the time it's not. Some of the time, especially in the original series, sometimes it's just not good. And sometimes you're watching and you're just like watching Shinji and you're like, would you quit being a whiny baby?
I've yet to find a piece of media that's perfect in every way.
And it's not perfect. But I think the way everything ties together is so impressive that I absolutely think it's a must watch. And it might not be for everyone, and it's not perfect, but it is. The story it tells, the themes it portrays, extending beyond, like, outside of the movies, extending to, into the fan base and the thoughts and the feelings of the author, the director and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Just how so much, like, the fact that the fan base and outside ties into how the story tells its ending is phenomenal.
It's unique, for sure.
It's super unique, and it's an experience. It's amazing.
Okay, that is Neon Genesis. So, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at jchurchtpm. Don't flame me for my opinions.
Or do. It's
engagement.
It's engagement. It's engagement.
It's gonna happen. One day it's gonna happen.
Yeah, you have hot takes, and engagement on social media is good for you. So, flaming him is good for him.
All right, so flame me on social media. I'll cry at home by myself.
And he'll respond to everyone.
Yeah, I probably will. I'll get defensive.
Yeah.
About this one in particular, yeah.
And you can find me on Instagram at ThoughtPlaneMedia. Don't flame me. I had nothing to do with this. And check out thoughtplane.ca for everything else we do. There's hundreds of posts there for free. And you can donate $1 or $2 there if you like our work and you're feeling generous. We hope to see you on the next close-up to conclude Anime October with Spirited Away. Till next time.
Take care.